Alright guys, welcome back. Um, this will be Defensive Philosophy Part 3, Innovation. And Part 1, I believe I uploaded 2 days ago on YouTube. Part 2 is on my OnlyFans, and then this will be Part 3 for YouTube. And Part 1, we kind of dove into how I believe you should think when it comes to picking a defense to deal with an offense. I think you should play more of a process of elimination of the different shell coverages that don't play well against a particular formation and go from there. Or maybe you run into a formation in which a particular shell coverage is excellent against it, and you always pick that particular shell coverage against that formation and you adjust from that, etc. Okay, so the sky's the limit when it comes to that. But in this video I want to go over how innovation innovations led to a lot of different things when it comes to football, because football, you can be very creative with everything in it. There's so many different strategies and concepts that you can come up with. And in this video, innovation is what led to the birth of a particular concept that we're going to go over later. And what I have on screen is trying to replicate what transpired maybe about 20 years ago, maybe 25. I have to look it up to be sure. But Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, and I believe Bill Belichick was on the staff on the defensive side of the ball as well that year. And they were an excellent team. They went 13-3, I believe, in the regular season. But there's an asterisk at the end of that three. Two of those losses came to one team, and it was to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we have them on screen as well. So think about that for a second. You went 13-1 against the rest of the league. You lost more games against one team than you did against the rest of the league. You lost 2 games to a division rival. So that's not very good, because the biggest thing that teams are trying to do when they start a season off is to win their division. That way they can get a home playoff game and get in the playoffs. And then your next goal should be to win a playoff game, and then so on and so forth. But your number one goal should be to win the division. And it's very hard to do that when you lose 2 games against, a division rival. So that's neither here nor there. They went 13-3. They were still a very good team. They went to the playoffs, and what do you know? They went against the Steelers in the playoffs, and they lost. So they lost 3 times in one season against this one team, and we're going to show you why, and we're going to show what the problem was. So what you have on screen is the Browns playing their defense, and Nick Saban firmly believes that cover one is the best defense in football, and that's because you can lock up receivers across the board man to man, and then you also have an extra defender in the box to help out against the run. So as you can see, they have 5 offensive linemen and a tight end to block. That's 6 blockers, but we have 7 defenders in the box, so we can get an unblocked defender to help out against the run. Okay, and we also lock up across the board in man to man, and we have a deep middle safety to help out on deep middle throws and etc. Okay, now the issue is, I don't want to say the issue, the potential issue is that if you don't have corners who can hold their ground and play man to man coverage, then you simply cannot play cover one man. Okay, even in this instance, let's say in their scenario when they played the Steelers, maybe they had, this matchup was okay for them, this matchup was okay for them, but this corner was just not good enough. Even in that situation, you have one weak link in the chain, so to speak. You can't run cover one man. You may be able to get away with this maybe in college or high school, having just one weak corner in your defense. However, in the NFL, you can't get away with that. They will find him and they will exploit him every time. Okay, so it was because of that. Let's go ahead and run this real quick. Let's just give it like an example. And as you can see, look how we can fill every gap in the run. We have this extra defender here. I mean, that's why cover one is something that he, would love to run on every damn down and distance play, right? It's such a good defense when you have the personnel that can run it. Okay, but again, You know, as you can see here, if the guy gets cooked in man-to-man coverage, then you simply just cannot run it. Okay, so what do you think his solution was to that? Well, quite naturally, we still want to be able to keep an extra defender in the box to deal with the run, but we can't play cover one. So what they did was they went ahead and jumped into playing cover three. Okay, so the good thing about that is, hey, you're not good enough to play man-to-man coverage, so we'll just play cover three, and that way we can alleviate a lot of the um, leverage issues that cover one man may cause. So think about that whip route. When he's in man-to-man, the point of running routes, you're trying to make your opponent think you're doing the opposite of what you're actually running. So, with the whip route, you essentially are going to end up going outside, so you want to sell the inside route. So maybe this guy makes a really good move inside, gets this corner thinking, okay, it's definitely a drag or an in route, bites really hard and overplays that route, and then he whips back to the sideline wide open, taking that outside leverage. And if the quarterback throws it in stride, he can turn upfield, get 20, 25 yards, etc. Okay, so that's just not good for your defense. Well, the difference in cover three is, yeah, you can go ahead and run inside as if you're running inside, but the corner now is in a curl flat zone. So he doesn't mind him going inside because he knows he's going inside to his help. We have hook curl defenders inside. And then he turns it into a whip route and he's running back towards the sideline. Well, you're already outside because you were maintaining outside leverage. So you didn't give up that leverage from his route going inside. Okay, so that's just a minor benefit to playing cover three in this instance instead of cover one man. He wasn't good enough to play cover one man and not get beat on this whip route, while in cover three, he's able to maintain his leverage and deal with that route. And the strengths goes on and on in regards to pick routes and etc. if you have defenders who just aren't good enough in cover one man. So that was their solution. Let's go to cover three. Well, the Steelers would see that, and what they would do to deal with that is just run four verts and torch them up the field in the seams, as we can see here. So you can see the problems that the Steelers were presenting for Nick Saban's defense. You play cover one man, we throw it all over the yard. You go to cover three, we hit you in the seams. He goes up the sideline, he goes up the sideline, and they both hold both of these corners, which leaves only this defender deep, and we have a 2-on-1 deal with that particular defender. If this guy cheats this way, we throw to the seam over here, and vice versa. If he goes over here, we throw over here. And you're just ripping 20, 25, 30-yard gainers up the field. And as you can see, that probably posed a major problem against the Browns. They can't play cover one, and they can't play cover three because they get torched. So what do you think Nick Saban did when they found themselves in this situation to where they just could not play cover one or cover three based upon what the Steelers were doing? Well, now let's just go ahead and play cover two, right? But what's the problem? Well, the problem is now we can't have an extra defender in the box, and that was the whole goal in the first place, the number one goal. We want to stop the run, and that's what cover three and cover one helped us in doing because we got an extra defender in the box. But due to the fact that we can't play those defenses due to what the Steelers were doing, we're stuck playing cover two. And when this happened, the Steelers just ran it all over them. Think about it, because now it's 6-on-6 in the box. But, I like to say that it's actually 6-on-4 that converts into 6-on-6. Think about inside zone. You get a double team here. You get him. You get a double team here. And you get here. That's 6-on-4 at the moment. And as the play develops at the mesh point, he hands it off. And, the play gets going. One of these guys eventually peel off to get this guy. He eventually peels off to get this guy. And then it's 6-on-6. So you see the offense has massive advantages at the point of attack when the box theoretically is even with 6 on 6. You can get a lot of double teams and etc. So that's all the Steelers did. It's like, okay, you know, it's a little bit more complicated than rock paper scissors, but essentially that's what happened. Cover one man, we throw it all over you because you can't play man. You go to cover three, we throw in the seams, hit you with verticals and etc. Then you go to two man and okay, fine, we'll just run it all over you. So obviously, Nick Saban's solution to that problem was to just lose. They had no answer. So they went into the off season and they had to figure out a way to solve this problem because it wasn't like you weren't going to see the Steelers again. They're in your division. You lost to them 3 times in 1 year. So they wanted to come up with a solution in which they can still get 8 in the box, but be able to play zone and also convert to playing man to man against four verts, so they can't get torched in when the offense runs and throws four verts up the seams. So what they ended up coming up with was cover three match. It was a brilliant idea where now we're playing zone, but it can convert into man based upon the route distribution and what the receivers do. So think about it this way. You can call straight man-to-man defense. You can call straight zone defense. And then this was different because it was a zone defense that can convert into man based upon what the offense does. You actually kind of get the best of both worlds of cover one and cover three. And it was brilliant, right? So essentially, what happens is if this guy were to run something like inside, then the seam flat player would, you know, he would maintain his zone principles, right? But if this guy were to take a route up the seam, then he would convert into playing man to man and run with them. And that would be the solution against four verts. So when the Steelers next time you come out and it looks as if we're in cover three, you call four verts, and this guy goes up the seam. Well, this guy takes him man to man at some point. The rules and concepts. Hey, if he gets to a particular depth up the field, then you just convert into man to man, and that would relieve a lot of stress on the safety because he has defenders running with the seam routes up the seam. So it's not like you can just rip it in there when we run past the hook curl defender, etc. Okay, so it was a brilliant design. Also, obviously it had a lot of rules and logic that they had to design in it. But that was their solution to the problem. So as you can see, we called cover three match, and in regular cover three zone, they would still be flirting in this area, the curl flat defenders, but you'll see that they convert into man-to-man defense. So now it's playing like cover one based upon how the offense distributes their routes. So, if you draw something up, let me draw something up real quick. Let's draw this guy going in the seam. Let's have this guy running, I don't know, a comeback pattern. Well, this guy running like a hitch. This guy is running like a deep dig. And we'll have this guy going into the flat. Now, think about if they were in cover three here. The defense would have problems in the seam. Okay, the quarterback may be able to hit this throw right here in this little window. And you may say, well, the safety should be able to get over there because there's no one threatening the seam on this side of the field. Well, this dig route would be a problem, right? If the safety paid too much attention to that dig route, you would be able to rip it into the seam. And if he played too far and cheated over to the seam, you would be able to hit the dig route. Okay, that's if they were in cover three zone, because you don't have defenders running with these particular vertical routes. Okay, the curl flat player may carry him to a certain depth, but then he would let him go based upon the rules in the defense, right? Now let's think about cover one man. Yeah, cover one man would deal with this seam and be better off against this player right here. But then you would have a particular issue here with the flat pattern. Think about this guy being man to man with this route. He would have to fight, come over, and he might run into a lot of junk. How about this hitch route, and then you get it over there in space, and maybe you can turn it upfield. Okay, so in this instance, cover three match would solve all of those issues. So let me draw the routes again. Flat. I think he was running a seam. He had a comeback. He would match him man to man because he went vertical here. He would match him man to man. He would end up taking him man to man. And what would happen here is, as he would travel over with the flat, because it crosses over, let me do 1, 2, 3. The routes kind of change. Once he gets to this point, this guy would turn to number 2, making this guy the number 3 at that point. And now this backer would just take this guy, and this player would run with that flat route, so you wouldn't get out leveraged. Right? So, it was a very innovative way of thinking to help out against a potential problem with the Steelers. So now we can play cover 3, we'll call it man match, cover 3 match, and obviously they expanded on it, and he came with like Rip Liz and a whole bunch of different stuff. But in essence, you get the deal of what they were trying to do and what they were designing to deal with, and they came with cover 3 match. Now obviously this defense still has weaknesses. There is no such thing as a defense that doesn't have weaknesses. So maybe I can go over that really quickly. Just one weakness is oh, I wanted to show you this because in Madden, I would like to think that these guys were supposed to switch. You take that flat now because we're overcrossing, and I'll take him. But in Madden, they don't, obviously. He still runs with the flat, and he sits with the hitch. So, it is what it is. It's Madden, right? You would like to think that they would, after 25 years, come up with a system that would, better simulate football. But they're just not very good, man. It is what it is. It's. I mean, this game is one of the most frustrating games to play, but we're kind of forced to play it because our love for football has us fiending to play football, and this is the only game that kind of presents the NFL to us. So we're kind of stuck with what we got, right? But at least the vertical routes they convert into man and etc. Now, a quick weakness is some of the same weaknesses you get in traditional cover 3 zone is this guy really wants to help out in the box. So when you get some run action going this way and he overplays to play backside, well, now we can get some bubble action here, rip it over there, and then gain a lot of yards on that. It's just one of the weaknesses. You put this guy in a conflict with different combinations and RPOs and stuff like that. So it's just a taste of understanding that there is no such thing as a defense that works against everything and has no weaknesses. Every defense has a weakness, but once you understand the weaknesses of your defense, then you'll better understand when you should play it, how you should play it, and etc. So cover 3 match, remember in part 1 I went over 4-2-2-0. Three one, single high, double high, and there were particular formations that I may not run cover 2 zone against and etc. Well, cover 3 match is a defense that I love to run against 2x2 sets, like what we have here. And my opponent in this game loved to run his offense from this formation. So I ended up running a lot of cover three match to deal with what he was doing. So we'll go ahead and watch this. I also like to shift to an under front, as you can see here. And hopefully, I'll make videos maybe on under fronts and different fronts, the strengths and weaknesses and etc. But this typically frees up this player, this particular front, and it gives me the ability to kind of roam as well. Runs the ball. I'll just show you a couple of plays. So again, I shift to the under front. And also, when you're playing these defenses, you got to know your responsibilities. So, if you don't know the responsibilities of this player, then I would highly suggest that you don't user him during the play, right? Because you may leave someone wide open when it's your responsibility, right? So, me, here's just a minor thing. I know that, if this guy takes a vertical route, I know he's going to take him man to man, and I got to match this route by this particular back. If the back goes this way on a flat pattern, then this linebacker will take him. Okay, and that's the beauty of man match, and then I can be a football player and kind of zone out and etc. Look for work, uh, and so on. He ran it again. So he kept running this formation, and I'm like, hey, I can run my cover three match. I love it against this formation here. And in football, we got to stop, but this is online football, so you got to get, a fourth down spot, stop, more often than usual. So I stayed in cover three match, and you'll see how beautiful cover three match is against formations like this. The second I see this tight end go inside and this back stay in the block, now I don't have to match the back going into the flat because he's staying into block. What that does is it frees up our curl players, and he's also free as well because he doesn't have to match a vertical route. Okay, so I know as the curl player here that I have to run with this guy and carry him off to this guy who's in a zone. And you'll see him jump the route, and it should have been an interception. We'll go back. So he's going to end up going vertical, so he's man to man. I believe he takes a vertical route, so he's man to man, and he's man to man. So as you can see, both of these players has help. Essentially this guy's one-on-one on this side. But it looks as if he's maintaining inside leverage, which is good. If you know the divider line in cover one man, then this is where he needs to be in cover three match, because he's playing him man to man. He needs to play inside leverage, so this is really good. So everybody's pretty much locked up, and you got this guy running across zones where he's almost triple teamed. He has someone on him at all times during the route. He may have had more space had this guy have gone out in the flat, which would occupy us. But I believe in traditional cover three match. If he goes out, he goes in. I would believe the curl flat would have to take that guy, and I would take the flat player coming in, because then he would be the new number 2 on the flat, and this guy would be the new number 3. Okay, so it's all about route distribution. But I didn't test it to see if Madden did it that way, so we're kind of stuck with what we got. And here's the problem with Madden. I noticed when they do these patches, they like change the entire framework of how a particular zone matches routes and etc. It's like they don't even tell us. Like, at least give us like a transcript or something so we know how something plays, instead of us being surprised in the middle of a game and how it's worked for 3 months, and then you just changed it on the fly at the last second, and we just get screwed because we thought it was supposed to be run one way and it doesn't. But you can't expect nothing more from those guys. They just don't do anything right. Kind of is what it is. So run that play again. Looks like he should have picked that off and gotten 7, or I should say 6, but it kind of is what it is. So I'll leave it at that. this video was just to showcase, how, it was the birth of a kind of like a new era when it comes to thinking on the defensive side of the ball with man match, well, not man match, but zone match principles. So, hope you come back.